you make priority becomes your life, becomes the nature of your life. And this is a kind of general statement, but we can look at where we're doing this in a life that might not be obvious. So some obvious ones are things like how we spend our time every day. We make it a priority. We confirm it's a priority by showing up for certain things every day. You show up to your job every day, you're making that a priority in your life. And whatever the nature of that job is like the nature of experiencing of life that you have during that time. So just sit with that for a moment and just to like be really honest about this and say, okay, I make my job a priority. I make making money a priority. And this is something that I went through personally in learning to love myself and learning to care for my body and things like that. And in the realm of like occupations, you know, being like, well, is this like, I mean, I'm on this earth for however long I'm on this earth, right? And am I going to spend most of that time doing something that is what I'm doing, is what I'm spending most of my time doing, something at the end of that time that I'm alive in this body? Am I going to feel fulfilled by what I chose to spend most of my time doing? Our jobs are like that. We spend most of our lives, a lot of the time, a good huge chunk of our lives working and doing things, at least in the West, in the US, doing things that the majority of people anyway, that we don't really want to do, you know? And I've gotten to the degree of subtlety with this of like exploring like jobs that are cool, like jobs that are kind of fun, you know, and not so terrible. But the more I learn to love and care for myself, and the more I make that a priority over anything else, over just about anything else. I'll get to other things in a minute, but if that's high on my list, my own care for my own body, my own mental health, my own just loving myself, and if there's parts of me that don't appreciate or don't benefit or aren't respected, you know, while carrying out whatever tasks I'm carrying out on a day-to-day basis, then I need to really think about whether that's something I want to keep in my life. Really, it's like super important thing for all of us to do. Again, we're on this earth in these bodies for we don't even know how long. You know, at best, you know, maybe 100 years on the earth, you know. So this is something I think for all of us to make priority of looking at. I don't want to sit here and say what anybody should do, but you know, this is something that's come up for me. And like, do you want to live a happy life? And like, why are you here on this planet? Like, what are you doing here? What is any of us doing here? You know, and even just your own life to look at and say, like, what am I doing with my life? You know, and is the things that I'm doing with my life, what are those things doing? What am I supporting? If I'm a part of a corporation, you know, what is that? And I'm a gear in that machine. And is that a place that I want to be? Is that a thing that I want to support? It's functioning. You know, these are like big things to ask yourself that can really open up your world. And like I was saying just a few moments ago about subtlety with this, is like I found jobs that were like pretty cool, you know, and like kind of fun, and like there was parts of them that were really, really amazing. But then there were a few other aspects of them that like weren't good, didn't feel good, and weren't good for my body or something like that. And then again, to make that the priority of like, wow, this is something that's like, yeah, it's pretty good, but to not settle for that. It's like really wiggly, I'm sorry about that. To not settle for that. you know, to have like a standard for yourself of how you want to, not only just like how you want to live your life and experience life yourself, but like what are you going to give to the world? You know, what are you offering the world? Are you offering like a shitty attitude because you hate your job every day? What are you offering to the people around you? You know, are you happy? Do you lift them up? Do you make them happy? Do you spread the habit of complaining? You know, things to be like honest about and like say, like, is that how you want to live your life? Is that how you want to go down? Really valuable, really important to look at this stuff. And keep exploring too, you know, and it might bring up challenges and stuff like that, but it's worth it. It's worth the challenge. It's worth getting out of the comfort of something that's like convenient and easy to like maintain like the rhythm of your life, you know. But it's worth like taking a risk. It's always worth taking a risk. And again, just the intention alone makes a huge impact and really beautiful adjustment on your life. Just shifting your perception of like, well, I gotta get up and go to work every day. I gotta make sure I like do good at my job. I gotta make sure like I show up and like, you know, I mean, how many people out there are mistreated at their jobs, but they show up loyally every day? How many people get paid shit and get treated like shit, but show up loyally to their jobs every day because they're worried about losing it? You know what I mean? It's literally insanity to do that, in my opinion. But if you just make a priority to care for yourself, to love yourself, to respect your body, to respect how you're treated, to do things that you believe in, that you feel fulfilled with, whatever it may be. And you can feel fulfilled as an electrician. You can feel fulfilled, you know, as a pot maker, you know what I mean, as a farmer. You can feel fulfilled doing anything. If you're fulfilled, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It doesn't have to be something like special. You know, it doesn't. You can find fulfillment anywhere. That's maybe another talk. Yeah, if you just make that little shift and declare that as like reality, as truth, like this is the way it's going to be from now on. That if something comes up that doesn't align with my intention of loving myself, caring myself, and being a part of something beautiful in this world, then I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to discard it. And that means if it's a job, that means if it's a person, you know, to set standards for your life with the people you surround yourself with. Set a high standard. Set an extremely high standard. And that might mean you're alone more often. It might mean you struggle financially a little bit more, you know? But life is going to show up for you, and you're going to live the life you're meant to live, that you're destined to live. When you deny listening to your own deep inner truth, you deny your fate. You deny your destiny. We do have a choice to deny what's made for us and to put it aside and to put other things up front. And we carve our path based on our intentions. And moving forward from this, we're not necessarily going to find fulfillment. This is really important. This is incredibly important. We're not necessarily going to find fulfillment in adjusting our lives. So I kind of like started this with care for yourself as things arise and make adjustments in your life. That's really important. That's really important to make a practice, to make a priority in your life. But I have to make sure that's known that itself is not necessarily going to bring fulfillment. It may make things better. It might feel better, but there will feel like something is still missing. Like I know this because I've done this. As you get to this point, you're like, wow, I have everything I want. I'm doing everything that I love to do. I love everything that I do. But there's something that still doesn't feel like complete about that. And you might go through a time of like in deep motivation to like keep going or keep exploring, or like whatever the thing is that you did find yourself a part of, that you believe in, that you love, that feels really good. You may find deep motivation and passion to really go into that and really open that up for yourself and go and go and go and go, and you might get it all, but that doesn't guarantee a true deep fulfillment. There's a few things that will. Is all that other stuff that the first part of this talk is about stripping away your limitations so that you open yourself up to act and be in the world as you're meant to be, as you're designed to be. Now the next phase of that is to surrender all of that. To surrender the desire to continue those things. To surrender even the passion for it. And just to elaborate on that part, it doesn't mean you don't have passion for it. To surrender something doesn't mean you lose it in this context. To let go of something, to detach from something, doesn't mean you lose it. It doesn't mean you don't love something. For example, if I'm detached from my partner that I love, it doesn't mean I love them less. In fact, it allows me to love them more. So that's a really key, super important factor and aspect to this. Detachment. In Bhagavad Gita it says, do your destined duty, or your designated duty. One, for God, for me, we'll get to that in a second. But then also, do it without any attachment for the fruits of your actions. In other words, whatever you do, whatever actions you perform in the world, doing them to the grandest degree that you can, to the best that you can do it. Anything and everything that you do. And again, I'll get deeper into that in a moment, but do it without even caring about the results of it. In other words, if I create something, not caring about even the success of it, right? And if it comes, beautiful, but remaining centered with that. Okay, and releasing expectation. And releasing, again, might not even realize how much we attach to the results of our actions. Even to the scale of when we say a joke to someone and they do or do not laugh. Right? If you say a joke and they don't laugh at it, some feeling arises of it's this little feeling of oh no, they didn't like what I said or whatever. Or somebody on the other end of that, you tell a joke and somebody laughs and you're elated about it and you're oh my god, everybody loves me, yay, great. This is what I'm talking about, and that's to the degree of subtlety that this practice goes. We're talking about karma yoga here. That's the subtlety that this goes to. And again, it's easy to look at these types of practices, these studies, and be well, why? Why can't I enjoy those moments? Trust these teachings. Because they're in place for a few things. One, they're in place for your happiness. They weren't created to annoy you. They weren't created to restrict you from living life. They weren't created so that you renounce life and like don't be a part of it. It's the opposite. It's actually created so that you can enjoy life more. So you can enjoy every second of life more. So I encourage you to trust these teachings, because that's why they're in place. Because I know what the mind is going to do, because my mind is designed the same exact way that your mind is designed. And all the thoughts that you're going to have that doubt these practices are the same for everybody. The mind is so limited. When you realize and start to witness its functioning, you realize how limited the mind actually is. And to surrender that satisfaction for everything that we do. And again, this is such a wonderful thing to look at in your life, and to look at, just back up from your own actions, observe them, and watch what you do. Like, watch how you express yourself. When you're immersed in conversation with people, notice like what arises and what comes out and how you express yourself and the feelings that are fueling the expressions, right? And where the mind is that, like, you'll be saying something. Again, I like the analogy of a joke, because you might be like really animated with it and feeling really good in the moment of telling the joke, and then the joke lands flat, right? Just as a theoretical scenario. And then what happens there? What happens inside is determined, is evidence of what is fueling your behavior. So, did you tell the joke because in the past you've told a joke or that joke and everybody laughed, and you felt the satisfaction of feeling appreciated, or feeling loved, or whatever it is, or being acknowledged, or getting attention, even just positive attention? It's something we don't realize we have functioning in us at such a deep level. Seeking positive attention. In fact, until we really wake up, almost everything that we do, almost everything that we say, almost 100% of how we express ourselves in the world is to gain positive attention, or to gain the attention that we desire. Because it doesn't have to be positive. Sometimes people feeling bad for us, right? I guess that's positive, but that's a gray area. But if we are upset or sad, or something terrible happens to us, other people feeling bad for us, right, can become addictive. And then we manifest and create more struggle, more suffering in our life, because I've seen this with children, actually. They'll do this with their parents, where they'll notice that the attention that they get from their mother or their father when they're upset feels really good. They feel loved, and that gets like imprinted into the consciousness of that being, and they'll carry that their whole life, right? And then again, manifest all these situations that are difficult, but there's like this weird satisfaction with going through suffering, because there's that potential for that satisfaction. David Hawkins would call it the juice that the ego gets when it fulfills its desire. So this is something like really, really important to look at in detaching from our actions in the world. Actually leads to happiness. And something really amazing happens when we start to do this, when we really open up our life beyond feeling satisfied on a moment-to-moment basis based on what we do and how we act in the world. When we move beyond that, there's a brand new way of living and experiencing life after that. And it's vital to happiness. It is vital to happiness, no matter what. If you're on whatever path you're on in your life, if happiness means something to you, this aspect of living, of perceiving, is absolutely vital to attain happiness. And you can think it's fundamental. It's fundamental to joy, to be unattached to the fruits and results of your actions. Because otherwise you're just on that roller coaster. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. It's when you look at the yoga system, the way that it's mapped out, it's like, it's really remarkable at like, again, how if you follow it, you are like guaranteed a greater degree of happiness in your life. Yoga, something like we're in the West, it's like kind of new to us, and it's got this like, it's got a function in our society that's I'm so grateful for. It's like a sign of our times that we're evolving, that there's more yoga around, but if you can take anything from this video, go into yoga, check it out deeply, go beyond the yoga class, go do a teacher training, or go look up, research. This is something I did. Is just research yogic philosophy, yoga material, and you'll. I've been on so many rabbit holes of finding books and texts and stuff like that, just by doing that. Just by like, I didn't, in moments where I'm just like looking for a little more, looking more for like, how deep can I go with it? Because I made a priority in my life to endeavor towards truth, like ultimate universal, the deepest truth in the universe. It's like I want to know. Again, for the sake of my own well-being, and when I learned about how much the mind binds us in its like cage of satisfaction and duality and spectrums and fleeting sensation, joy and hate and pain and love and all that stuff. When realizing that the mind binds us to that realm, and that we have a choice whether to be in it or not. We have a choice to be in that world or not. When I learned that, I just wanted to take that to the deepest levels as possible. And then this is similar to like what I was talking about earlier. When you find the thing, right, that makes you feel really fulfilled inside, right, and you want to go all the way. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This moment I had with yoga, but that needs to be surrendered as well. I need to let go of that as well, because that passion will always turn into suffering to some degree. It'll lead you, it's necessary, it may be necessary to lead you to a certain point of experiencing, to drive you to a certain place. Like we suffer so that we're driven towards truth. I look back at all the suffering in my life, and all of it was fuel. All of it was juice. All of it was like a propulsion for me towards truth. And the deeper the suffering, the deeper the commitment to seek truth came into my being. So when you look at these things, like again, just using my own journey as an example, and I had passions all throughout my life and found other things that fulfilled me step by step throughout. And then as you endeavor, you have to let go of things, right? You have to let go of things. It's a part of life that we all have to do. We're not going to go through life. It's impossible. It never happens where we go through our life on this level of experiencing, where we're going to go through it and be able to hold on to something forever. Because even if something does stay with you your entire life, at the end of it, you have to let that go, because you're going to die. Because you're going to leave the body. You're going to change form. Your consciousness is going to do whatever it does after the body goes. So no matter what, we have to learn to let go. And that's something that is beautiful. If you're ever taking a yoga class, you go through your journey of yoga, your asanas, your postures, you have this whole it's like symbolic. It's a microcosm of an entire lifetime. You know, you start, you're born into the moment. You know, you move around a little bit, you get your bearings, you go through some situations. Some of them are really easy and fun and playful. You might laugh. Other ones might be terrible. Emotions come up. You hate yourself. You love yourself. You're judging the person next to you. You know, you're going through this whole experience. You might fall down in your yoga class. You might stretch. You might injure yourself. You know, I've injured myself like permanently in a yoga class. And then you slow down, things get more gentle, right? You start to work your way down, things get a little easier, a little more graceful, maybe you're on the ground, life gets a little more yin, take your time, you go slow, and then the last pose you do in a yoga class, most of the time, is Shavasana, you die. And you let go of everything. You forget about it all, you just release it all. And then when you do after a yoga class, you get into a fetal position and you get back up and you go back to life. You live another life. Anyway, nobody on this plane is going to go through life and not have to let go. At least at death. But I mean, it'd be crazy to say that we'll go through life and be able to hold on to everything that we started with. Not happening. You know what I mean? So we all learn to let go. And what degree and what way and what method we learn during those inevitable processes or experiences or moments of letting go, you know, determines a lot. It determines the next journey. How I let go of, like, you know, my partner dumps me, you know what I mean? And how I let go of that situation really sets up my next situation, right? Because I put that on my body, I put that on my mind, on my consciousness. You know, I like write that down on Hawk. Hey buddy, good too. I like ingrain that. I like write that down on like the notebook of my, you know, manifesting consciousness. You know, and that gets written on my world as well. You know, you can say like the moments that you like declare. You're like writing them down. You're scribing them on the material plane, on the existence, on the physical reality that you're going to experience. You know, and you'll experience all over your life. So, detachment. Not all of that was about becoming not attached, but it's one of the most. I mean, that's something you can do in this life. And if you just go into doing that and detaching, and again, but nurturing everything at the same time, like being detached from something really allows you to really love what you're a part of, you know, because you're not trying to get anything from it, you know, and you don't get mad at it if it doesn't do what you want it to do. You know, this can go with people, this can go with, you know, tasks. Like I'm an artist, you know, so like if I put art out there and everybody hates it, like what does that do to my consciousness? Where does my mind go if something like that happens? So the more unattached I am to everything that I create, everything that I'm a part of, everything I do, everything I say, every word that I express, every movement that I make with my body, you know, everything that happens in my life, you know, if I'm unattached and unexpected from all of it, then I can really enjoy it. I can really be a part of it. Something comes into your life, even if it's pain. You can even like learn to like enjoy pain. You know, I'll do another talk just on pain itself, but you can actually learn to enjoy pain to a degree. You know, where the sensation is whatever it is, but when you learn what pain is, what suffering is, you know that something's happening to you that's necessary, that's beautiful, that there's some degree of transformation. That pain is what it feels like to grow. I remember when I was a teenager, a couple of things happened. I had a really big growth spurt, quick. Grew like 6 inches in a year or something like that. Maybe even more than that. But that happened, and so some growing pains go along with that. but also at the same time, my bones grew faster than my muscles. And so what happened is, like, if you think about it, I have this like rubbery suit, you know, that's like around the frame. If I just keep making the frame bigger and bigger, it like just stretches out the material. So that's like what happened. It stretched out my muscles, it stretched out my skin. I have stretch marks. Like pulled everything. It's like not a super abnormal condition, but it's something real, you know. But it hurt. Like I had such like bad growing pains, and then like that just carried like through my life, you know, because my like initiation into adulthood was very painful, just by my own biology. And but for me, it blessed my life in so many ways because I was in physical pain like all the time. It like isolated me a little bit from like, because I used to have a really arrogant temperament and used to really absorb into like being liked and things like that. You know, I had a good sense of humor and I was funny and all that, and I was really attached to that, you know, and I guess the analogy came through that I told earlier about telling jokes is like so aligned with me, because making people laugh was always something that fulfilled me, made me feel good, and also made me feel like that satisfaction of being liked and that positive attention that we get from being funny. But I was very attached to that, you know, so if I told a joke, I remember specific moments coming up for me right now where I was telling jokes and just like wasn't there with it, or like just didn't land, and like getting so depressed from that, you know. And like we do that all the time, you know, in small little moments where like something happens, you know, and we get that little sting of sadness, you know. And it's, again, the feelings are okay. It's not about not feeling, but the feelings are evidence of like where our consciousness is, where our mind is, and what priorities it has. You know, that's proof that it's priority for people to like me, or it's priority for my mind to receive positive attention from others, you know. So this is huge. This is like a big deal. You know, if you're here, if you're listening to this, just take a moment and appreciate that this is showing up for you in your life. This is ancient knowledge. This is deep, and this knowledge has been passed on for thousands and thousands, maybe even more, maybe even millions of years. A tremendously long time. This knowledge, this exact knowledge, has been passed on, and it was discovered by incredible humans, like humans at the highest scale of humanity. So just appreciate this for a moment. Humans of the highest caliber, right, that have ever walked Earth, are the humans that developed yoga. And so beings that entered states of consciousness that were unified with God, with the creator of the universe. This is yoga. It's what yoga really is. Beings that walked the earth, devoted their lives to ultimate truth and happiness for all, and shared it, and created systems for all of us to find happiness, to find truth, to find God. They realize the great questions of humanity that arise in every human. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Is there a God? What's happening? Why is this reality the way that it is? Why is there suffering? Why do I hurt? there is a God, why would God create pain and suffering? All these questions. These beings went deep into them and made these questions priority in their life. The Buddha made these questions priority in his life for you to share that joy that comes along with discovering the truth about life and self. This is what yoga is. This is the truth about yoga. And this is what it has to offer. So take this time, this moment, right here, in this moment, to appreciate that you are here listening to this. All of you out there are getting this ancient message that your life is aligned with this message. This has come into your life. So you called this into your life. It means you're ready for something grand. It means you're ready to triumph in your reality. It means you're ready to start discovering God, truth, to know what love is, to be who you're made to be in a grand scheme, to fulfill your soul's destiny. This is yoga. This is why you're here right now today. In this second, we're at 36 seconds in time of this video. Right now. You're getting closer, or you're fulfilling and being a part of your destiny right now. Amazing. So where we go from here, maybe I'll do a whole talk on the next part. But the next part gets into God. You know, and kind of like when we start to experience life unattached, and we start to go through life without being concerned or affected by the fruits of our actions, whatever direction they may go. Some things happen after that, and that leads us towards at least contemplation of God. And we'll get into that next time. I'm going to do another video just on that, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. So look out for that one coming through. And I love you, and I appreciate you. And thanks for listening, and just bless your life. I'm so grateful for all of you showing up. And I do this, you know, in the same mood that the yogis who created it, you know, I feel them inside me because I've devoted my life to this path. I can feel the sages inside of me, you know, and I want to honor them, you know, just because, and this is for you too, just because I've witnessed this path and it's come to me is the grace of God itself. And I just look at that, and this is just me, but I look at that as I want to give back to the grace that's been given to me, and I want to share that. Just like the yogis who started this whole thing, however many eons ago, just like them, I feel that presence of, you know, inspiration to commit my life to it and to share it. So that's why I'm here doing it and sharing this, because it's transformed my life beyond anything I could ever imagine. I found an eternal happiness. I found it. It's real, people. Sustainable happiness is real. And this is the path. This is the way to it. This is one way to it. It's not the only way. But this is the way that I'm telling you worked for me. It's working for me. It's real. It's real. This whole conversation is a testimony of the grace of God and the grace of yoga. So again, thank you for you and for listening. Enjoy your life.